Hello, everyone, and welcome to day three of the Virtual Island Summit. I trust that you've all been having a fantastic summit thus far. We've had so many insightful discussions, and this session will be no different. My name is Michaela Johnson, and I am the Impact and Growth Manager here at Island Innovation, and I'm based in the Caribbean in Trinidad and Tobago. Island Innovation is a sustainable development consultancy, and our primary focus is on islands. Our services include events, strategic communications, and capacity building. We are trusted by clients around the globe, and if you're interested in learning more about our work, please reach out to us using the contact information available in the chat. I'm very happy to be presenting this session today, a screening of Climate Action, Highlands and Islands, a captivating documentary that highlights 10 vibrant communities across the Highlands, Orkney and Shetland as they take bold grassroots actions in response to the climate crisis. This screening will be followed by a live Q&A with the film's director and members of the community. Before we begin, you should see a poll appear now on your screen. Please let us know where you are connecting from and, of course, what sector and industry that you belong to. So far in the chat, I see we have Cayman Islands, we have Scotland, Greece, Hawaii present, Oslo. Welcome, everyone. Absolutely fantastic to see so much representation here today. I definitely invite you to make use of the chat, continue to introduce yourselves, let us know where you're joining from, and then of course make any comments during the session. Please make sure that you use the Q&A function for any questions that you might have. For our panelists in that Q&A section at the end of the screening, and we'll be sure to address as many of them when we get to that section. All right, let's take a quick look at the poll results just to see who we have in the room with us. I see we have the most representation from Europe. We have persons from North America, from the Caribbean, and then also from the Pacific region. And quite a few people joining from NGOs, private sector, academia, and government. Welcome, everyone. It's absolutely fantastic to have so many of you here with us. At this time, I will now hand you over to our moderator for this session, Joan Laurie, CEO of the Highlands and Islands Climate Hub. Joan, the floor is all yours. Hi, Joan, just flagging that you're still muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Michaela. And thank you to the Islands Innovation Summit for having our film screening tonight. And thank you to all of us for joining us. I'm saying tonight, but I'm in Scotland, so it may not be tonight wherever it is that you are. We filmed Climate Action, Highlands and Islands over the summer of 2023. Everybody who is here on our panel tonight features in the film in some shape or form. You will see myself quite strongly throughout the film. And you'll also see Marie Hay, who is one of the managing directors from Polycrub on the Shetland Islands, and also Jane Nelson, who is from Greener Orkney. She's a chairperson of Greener Orkney. So both of those community organisations feature in the film. We're also joined tonight by Cameron Mackay, who was our filmmaker, who we enjoyed and still enjoy a very close working relationship with Cameron. Whilst you won't see Cameron in the film, you will hear Cameron in the film, because please pay close attention to the music, which is music that Cameron actually composed for us for the film. As Michaela said, the film tells the story of 10 communities throughout the Highlands and Islands. We go from Shetland all the way down to Lochaber in the south of the Highlands. But the work that these communities are carrying out in terms of community-led climate action could be representative of any of the communities that we have in Highland, Orkney or Shetland. So I hope that you will join us now, and please feel free to answer any questions in watching Climate Action, Highlands and Islands.
Welcome to the Highlands and Islands, where we're connected to the land and sea around us.
But this isn't the Highlands and Islands of the shortbread tin variety, big sweeping landscapes. This is the Highlands and Islands where we have bold, resourceful communities taking action to combat the climate emergency. Here we have diverse and thriving communities who are rooted in our culture and our traditions, but are also taking dynamic and forward-thinking approaches towards our future. The Highlands and Islands Climate Hub are here to support communities throughout our region to take bold and collective community-led climate action. This can be through various means, through us supporting with funding, supporting with practical skills, to most importantly, giving our communities a voice and empowering to share their voice and how they shape their communities of the future.
We're going on a journey across our region from Lochaber to Shetland to look at themes of climate action relating to power, reducing waste and food security.
But first, let's explore our relationship to land and sea and our connection to nature by visiting Golspie, who are already feeling the impacts of a changing climate.
Our aim is to put in a robust flood defence to protect as much of the main section of the village, houses and businesses, as is possible. And it's a project really led by the Community Council and the Development Trust, Go Golspie. It's already been identified as one of the top 10 areas of Scotland's coast that is most at risk of coastal flooding. And of those 10 areas, only 3 are populated, and Golspie is one of them. We have national infrastructure that runs through this village, so the main A9 trunk road that runs north to south. We have a railway line, and obviously we have the NC 500 tourist route. You can see from these photographs, here's the railings in front of us, and this was taken during the storms, I think of 2014, 2015, and you can see exactly what the risk is for us. These waves and this spray, all the stones and the rocks will be thrown up almost as high as the roofs of these houses. And the damage that causes is enormous. The groins is looking like the most likely option. The old pier here is acting as a mega groin, and there's now a lovely beach developing behind it. That's a natural process. If we can recreate that further along the coastline, then we potentially got a recreational sea area. So rather than the village turning its back on the sea in a sense, we're almost embracing it as part of our environment and heritage. You know, if we can evidence that it's protecting the village against storm surge and wave damage, then there's a greater incentive for people to invest and live here. Just looking out on this vista is very, very special. And we jeopardise that at our peril, I think.
Based on risks posed in places like Golspie, it is now more important than ever to foster positive relationships with the land, the sea and the earth, which is exactly what Lurgan District Learning Centre have been doing with their recent exhibition in Rogart Mart.
Bringing Letters to the Earth to Rogart Mart meant that we were able to bring an international project to a rural location in the Highlands, and we wanted to bring it to somewhere that wasn't your typical arts venue so that we could engage with communities and provide learning opportunities for them to participate in the conversation as well. So I'll just walk you around the exhibition. We've brought in the local perspective, so there is a book that was created by Rogart Primary School about wild food, which links to our work on foraging.
We asked the pupils at the school to talk to their families and their neighbours about their experiences of wild food. So we talked about the colours of each season and what foods are available. Like even in January, you can be eating blaeberry jelly on toast or rosehip syrup.
We have a couple of sound installations, one focused on an oral biography of place of a croft in Sutherland, capturing all the different sounds over time, what's missing when we listen and what might not be here in the future.
So you would hear clip-clopping down past the house on his way to the village and on the way back.
We've had a school visiting this morning, the local primary school, and they've written their own letters to the earth. And actually these letters are so simple and direct and hard-hitting, and they're really emotional.
Dear Earth, to the whole entire Earth, and all the people on the earth. If you kill nature, animals will not survive, like cute wee bunnies and big stags.
We're Rogart Primary School and we have 22 children in our school. So because we're a small school, it's really exciting that we can come down to an exhibition like this, which is part of something much bigger. We know the exhibition is going to be happening in Canada as well. So that's really good for them to think about kids on the other side of the world, concerned about the same things that they are.
While the Letters to the Earth exhibition encouraged us to think about our relationship with nature, in Kyla Sutherland there's an inspirational new generation of young women that are taking how we connect with nature to the next level.
We are the Kyla Sutherland Development Trust and we were set up in 2011. We've evolved since, and one of our most recent projects is all about our natural assets here in the Kyla Sutherland, along with green health and connecting to nature. It's called Sutherland Girls on Boards. Sutherland Girls on Boards is a project that brings together the local community, those who identify as female, through paddle power, to ultimately strengthen themselves, to connect to the local community, connect to the local environment, and immerse themselves in that. As a group, we're heading out onto Loch Meadale today. We'll do some skill practice first, and then we're going to head sort of towards the wind direction, and that just allows us to float back down at the end when we've got less energy.
If you had your paddleboard yourself, you might not go out on your own, but having something like Girls on Boards, you all go out together and you plan for it and make time for it. I think that's brilliant.
I just also like the places you go. Everyone just goes to just local but beautiful places.
Yeah. Like tonight, it feels peaceful. There's this like beautiful silence. You just hear the water and your paddle going in and out. You've just got this moment where you can just be like completely alone on the loch with some amazing friends.
Sutherland Girls on Boards has been developed by young people in this community. The idea is that over time, as those young people move on, people that we're currently teaching will be able to take that project on and take the admin, take that responsibility for their qualifications, for their training, to teach more people of the future.
Girls on Board have been so successful in increasing the accessibility of nature, but communities in the Highlands and Islands also have countless uses for the land and waters. On Rassie, they are harnessing the island's natural resources to create power.
Rassie Community Renewables is a community benefit company, and we were set up by the local development trust specifically to bring this hydro scheme project to life. The main goal is to generate an income for the community through the sale of the electricity. But looking into the future, what we would really love to do is look at how we can use the electricity generated locally. Can we give the electricity to locals at a discounted rate, because we pay a lot up in this part of the world for electricity. Our hydro schemes utilise two existing rivers on the island, the Inverarish Burn, which we're at now, and the Mine Burn. We extract some of the water, channel it down pipes which have been put under the ground all the way down to our turbine house at the bottom of the hill. As the water comes down the hill in the pipes, it gets fed into this turbine house behind me, and that's where the electricity is generated, and then it's exported up to the grid. I moved away for uni and came straight back home after I'd finished. I am very interested in all things energy related and sustainability related, and I really wanted to get involved in helping my local community. So the opportunity to be a director of Rassie Community Renewables came up, and I kind of just jumped on it. I think this project has really highlighted the power of community ownership. Community ownership of a renewable project generates 50 times the profit for the local community than just receiving the standard community benefit payment from larger wind farms, for example. Because we're selling electricity to the grid, that means that we're able to put all of our profits that we make from that into a community benefit fund. Rassie is almost like the ideal pilot project. You can implement a project for the whole of the island quite easily. We've got industry on the island, we've got the connection, so it's just somewhere that's really nice where you can try something out on a small scale and quite easily scale it up.
Whilst Rassie have increased the supply of renewable power, across in the Highland city of Inverness, there's a movement to empower the community to reduce the demand on power through active travel.
I am the CEO of Velocity Cafe and Bicycle Workshop, and I'm also the bicycle mayor of Inverness. So at Velocity, we have a cafe and a bicycle workshop, and we run a number of outreach projects. And then as bicycle mayor, my role is to really try and campaign to make Inverness a safer place for people to cycle. So Critical Mass is a big mass bike ride where we usually have between 80 and 120 adults and children. And the idea is that by cycling en masse in a big group, we can create that safe space for children to be on the bikes, on their roads in a really positive way.
As ever, we're delighted to see our regular families back again that support us, rain or shine. But it's lovely to see some new faces and some pretty little kids now on their balance bikes, getting out and feeling they can take to the road.
I was really gratified to see that we had so much support today, actually, because I know there is a tendency to hold up traffic, and that's part of the point that we're making, campaigning for space for the next generation.
We all see the occasional cyclist here and there, but when you see 100 or 200 at once, you suddenly realise that actually cycling is a viable way of getting out and about.
It's been really, really lovely to see a proper community of regular riders grow out of this. And every time I look at the footage of one of these rides, I'm like, I just wish those people were cycling on the streets all the time.
The theme of youth action is strong across the Highlands and Islands, particularly when it comes to reducing our waste. In Ullapool, a group of young people have come forwards to tackle marine waste and save our seas.
We are the Ullapool Sea Savers, a marine conservation charity run by kids for kids. We are based in Ullapool, at the heart of the Wester Ross Marine Protected Area.
Our main goal is to help the sea and inspire others to help the sea as well. To get the plastic out of it and make it a better environment for the fish and stuff.
So we've done many campaigns, one of our biggest being the drain campaign.
The drain campaign is, the motto is all drains lead to the ocean. So you shouldn't really throw stuff away.
Cigarettes down the drains.
Yes, because just one little cigarette can pollute a whole litre of water and make that litre of water toxic to fish. Today we've decided to paint the drain with biodegradable chalk paint, and it says, the sea starts here, please do not litter, because when people litter it washes into the drain and the drain leads it to the sea. When I started, we used to walk around and there'll be just plastic bottles everywhere you went and rubbish. Because of us, I've not seen as much as how it used to be now. And there's recycling for soft plastics and stuff now, so people use that more. And it makes it just life better when it has that kind of stuff in it.
I've seen loads of differences. A few years ago there used to be rubbish all along this beach, and now it's almost completely clean. And you can see a lot less cigarette butts on the floor and all that. I'm making a difference and I can feel proud about that. There's people that could probably do a better job than me, but they're not, and I'm doing it the best that I can.
My message is to other young people is just to start doing something. Even if there's not a lot of people that listen, as long as you start, you're still making a difference.
At-scale approaches to reducing waste are ongoing throughout Highland through the work of the Highland Community Waste Partnership, which is led and driven by 8 community groups and coordinated by Keep Scotland Beautiful. One of those partners is Lochaber Environmental Group.
Lochaber Environmental Group are here to try and promote living sustainably as possible, making sure people are aware of their impacts on the environment. We're trying to very much identify and work with people to reduce consumption. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go out and visit Green Fingers, local organisation that we work with.
Yeah, this is the Green Fingers project. It's probably been going about 15, 20 years. It's for, for learning disabilities, mental health. So it's going to cover the whole scope, and also people learning about the environment. As a workshop where we can actually recycle furniture. This was all recycled timber, and it's just, we're going to be thrown away. But they're all bits, but it's just basically a plant stand.
Right,
now,
okay, yeah.
This was made by a chap with a learning disability who's never used hand tools.
Whoa.
This sort of instruction and a bit of time, eventually he made all this.
So that's great. So they're learning about that reduction in waste. Just because something's broken, it doesn't mean that you've got to throw it away.
We don't throw anything away.
Okay.
Because even like bits that are broken, we will keep them so that we can use to repair other bits.
Ah, right, okay. And next we'll go across to the bike kitchen so we can talk with the bike team about the work that they're doing to stop bikes going into landfill. Hi Chris, I've just come today to find out a little bit more about exactly what goes on in the bike kitchen.
So the bikes are donated rather than going to landfill. That's one of the key components, that we're keeping stuff out of landfill and creating a sort of circular economy. We're giving all these bikes a second life, hopefully.
Okay, and can you tell me a little bit about the work that you do for people to be able to learn how to fix their bikes?
Yes, we run some workshops so people can sign up specifically to come and learn specific skills. We go out into the community and do Doctor Bike, where we do safety checks on bikes. And we also have people can come here and use all the tools we have. They would fix the bike themselves with my help, so I can talk them through. They can learn the skill.
So they learn what to do whilst...
Exactly,
This repurposing and ingenuity shown in Lochaber is a key feature of Highland and island life. At the other end of the scale, and at the other end of our region, Polyclub, a leading community-run and managed social enterprise, embrace repurposing at the very start of their production line. In all corners of our region, the Polyclubs are being used to help communities grow food and increase food security.
We sell the Polyclub, which is a polytunnel that we developed for the Shetland climate. Here is where the Polyclub process begins. We utilise waste pipe for the salmon industry. The feed pipe gets renewed every few years, and so we use that pipe to create the hoop for the Polyclub. So we clean off all the barnacles and seaweed and mussels and everything off of the pipe, and then those pipes then come to our site ready to go out with the Polyclub kits. One of the things that the community was really interested in doing was growing food locally and reducing air miles. And we developed this sort of Shetland strength polytunnel for the community project. So they started selling in Shetland. And then people from Orkney were interested and they started selling there. And then the Western Isles, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And we now employ 5 staff in North Maybing. All the profits for the Polyclub company go back into the community. And of course, in the last few years, we've probably diverted over 100 miles of this pipe for landfill. And also the benefit is that there's so many polycrubbers in Shetland that are able to grow their own fresh fruit and veg.
And so we were looking at what kind of farm buildings was out there to accommodate hens and that, and we had a conversation with Dee about the Polyclub. We really thought that would be the perfect answer to house and hens.
And now you have 11 Polyclubs.
Yeah.
The other great thing about the Polyclub opals is that they're predator-proof.
That's right.
So the animals feel safe and their stress levels reduces.
That's right.
And we'll be coming up to our 4th winter now, and everything that's been built is still standing.
Can stand up to the Shetland weather.
That's
it. Yeah.
On the most northerly point of the mainland, Thurso, community growing has been done at scale through the social enterprise Socially Growing.
Our business is called Socially Growing, and it is a part of Thurso Community Development Trust. The greenhouses have been open about a year. We've got a fantastic team of people and volunteers who have done all this growing and produced all these amazing fruits.
It is definitely a gardening space, but it's really, really multifunctional. So we also use it as a place that people can come and get work experience if they're going back into work, or maybe they're just going through some part of story in their life and they need a bit of green and soil. So that's the sort of place it is. I guess our core or primary role is to make money to support the Development Trust. So we're always trying to be enterprising, but with a kind of ethic behind it.
This is our second polycrop. We have another one in our community garden, and they are the most amazing resource. What's even better is that we know that it's not going to get damaged by the weather because it came from Shetland.
We're growing 8 different varieties of tomatoes, different varieties of cucumbers. We're trying to do microgreens and herbs for chefs. People are picking their own, like Meadow is just now, which is great.
These are some items that we're taking down to our retail shop, which is very close by, so things can get carried by hand or in a little wheelbarrow, and the shop can be topped up daily or even twice daily if required. This amazing bit of local produce has been locally baked. On the top are tomatoes which have come from the greenhouse. We're very lucky that we have got local suppliers who are supplying our shop, and I have to say items like this are just flying off the shelf.
We go out into around Caithness foraging for different plants and herbs and fruits, fungi, mushrooms, and then we make these things into various syrups, jams, preserves, chutneys, and then we sell them in social growing.
Food security is not just about sustainable local food systems. It is also about how we address community needs by stopping good food from going to waste and ensuring it is shared with all. Just a step across the water, Greener Orkney are doing just this with their community fridges.
The main goal of the work that we do here is to make sure that we don't waste food, so that there's no food going into landfill. And we now have three community fridges. We have one in Kirkwall, one in Stromness, and one in the school in Doomby. So we pick up from the 4 co-ops in the evening. We also pick up sometimes, if they've got food, from Tesco, and also during the day we pick up from some local shops as well. These are our Monday night volunteers, and when the food arrives, it's weighed and we keep a record of it, and we publicise it on our webpage, Greener Orkney. So the total tonight is 104 kilos, which is quite a lot, really, for one night.
Orkney's a resourceful place. It's a place where folk are very good at looking after a community, and this fits in absolutely perfectly. This means that things don't get wasted, that people in the community can get access to food that would otherwise end up in a container, be sailed to Shetland and put in an incinerator. You know, how bizarre. The secret of this is that it is for everybody. The food bank exists in Orkney, but this is a very different thing. And you can come in here, find ingredients, try things. So it's a kind of free taster opportunity to find out what you like and don't like. It's brilliant.
The feeling of community comes through. The other thing I think which has been very good is it's given us the ability to spread the message about climate change, and you know that you yourself can do something.
It has always inspired me and the team seeing the work of our members, and it is clear there is something very special about the Highlands and Islands when it comes to taking action against climate change.
Highlanders and Islanders have always looked after the planet. People have always made the most of the resources they have. They've also looked after the resources that they have in terms of the subsistence crofting, so only taking what you need from the land and giving back to the land, and I think that still happens today.
Due to the rural locations and smaller communities in the Highlands and Islands, we naturally have to take a circular economy approach to living. We're also much closer to the landscape and really aware of the work on renewable energy going on around us, and also things like coastal erosion and how weather impacts where we live, especially for those who work the land.
The people who live here and who've been born and brought up here have a much more visceral connection to the land. Things that may take a week to complete in a city environment may take a month up here. So very often we get on and just do it ourselves. That's a resilience that is really important, and therefore the Highlands and Islands demonstrates that in spades.
We can actually see what's happening within the Highlands and Islands. We can see the effect of the changes in the climate. It's such a stunning area. People holiday here such a lot because they love it, but if we don't all do some small steps, it won't be the same area in years to come.
We're right next to the sea, and it's a beautiful fishing town, so yeah, it's very important.
You can go out on the boat and
beach cleans and stuff.
yeah, and if we were in a city, we wouldn't really be able to do that, and we're inspiring other people to do it in their town or village or city.
I think it's incumbent on us all to take action wherever we are. And Inverness, it's a brilliant city for cycling. It's small, you know, there's nowhere really that's more than half an hour's cycle from the town centre. I think we're in a really good place to make a really cyclable city.
So the Highlands Islands is a really special place for climate action because we have really unique connection to our community, especially here in the Highlands of Shetland, and that enables us to be more sustainable in our actions for climate change.
I mean, I think if you look at climate change, I mean, it's obviously massively important to Orkney. However, since the late 50s, Orkney has also been a very important place for renewable energy.
I think we've got a really strong community ownership legacy in the Highlands and Islands, and I think when tackling climate change, it's going to make the transition a lot more just and fair.
We're lucky in that we have a lot of passionate people in this area, and we work here on the premise that we don't want one person to do a big change, we want everybody to make a small change, and hopefully we're encouraging everybody to do that.
Whether you're organising a beach clean, creating new renewable power infrastructure, or protecting your community against the impacts of climate change, we hope that we've shown you that there's no climate action too big or too small to be taken by our communities. To communities throughout our region, thank you. Your resilience, your commitment, your innovation are examples of what has set apart the Highlands and Northern Isles for centuries. We're now seeing our culture and traditions carried on by a new generation, where we're still connected to the land and the sea, but facing new challenges with a community spirit that still survives. To people elsewhere, next time you visit us or you think of us, look a little deeper than our landscapes and see the ambitious work carried out by our communities. Use it to inspire you and join us on this journey. By working together, we can create a resilient, thriving, climate-ready region.
Thank you. I can see lots of really good comments coming through into the chat. If you have any questions for our panel, and we have Cameron here, we have Marie, and we have Jane, who all feature in the film, and Cameron was obviously our filmmaker, then please pop them into the Q&A or into the webinar chat, and then we can pick them up from there. I do have some questions to start off with. And actually, first of all, I'm going to allow Cameron, Jane and Marie to all introduce themselves to you. So we'll start with Cameron.
Hello, so nice to see everyone here. I'm Cameron. I'm based in Glasgow, Scotland, and work a lot across the Highlands Islands doing film production and music production. It's all about trying to make environmental impact through connecting with traditional culture.
Thank you, Cameron. Jane?
Oh, hi, I'm Jen Nelson. I'm with Greener Orkney. We've been running Community Fridge since 2022, I think. And yeah, it's still going strong.
Perfect. Thank you, Jane. And then to Marie.
Hello, I'm Marie Hay, and I'm the managing director of the Polycrub company. And it's coming on nearly 20 years for we first developed the community polytunnels in Shetland, and they're still here.
Thank you, Marie. I will always be a fan of Polycrub and will promote Polycrub to anybody who listens to me.
Thank you, John.
I'll start with some individual questions for each of you, and then we'll see what questions start to come through. And then I've got some questions that I can, a couple of questions that I can just get all of your opinions on. So I'm going to start with Cameron. Can I ask Cameron? So, we approached you to make this film. You can share your experience of working with the Highlands and Islands Climate Hub if you would like to. But actually, a kind of more broader question is, how do you see like film and storytelling contributing to climate action more broadly?
Thank you, Joan. Well, yeah, it's been the biggest joy, one of the biggest joys, if not the biggest joy of kind of the professional work I've done to work with Highlands Islands Climate Hub and all the amazing communities. Definitely one of the best. You could ask for a better pitch for your kind of summer travel for work to go to 10 locations, including Orkney and Shetland, which I'm not just saying this was some of the most fun I think I had on the whole trip. So yeah, it was an absolutely lovely project to be part of, and I'm super grateful to everyone for welcoming me into their communities to do so. But yeah, the kind of idea of what film can do, I think it's huge. It's kind of this idea of, we've done so much with scientific research, and that's great. But putting the narrative in the hands of, film productions, you really democratize the story. And instead of it being put through a bunch of kind of, academic minds that's peer reviewed and kind of behind the scenes, it becomes something that is accessible to any community to tell their own story, which is really important. It's got this emotional connection, looking at the kind of the three of you here on the panel with me, you both put so much amazing emotion into what you were saying. And through being at screenings of the film and places like this, you can see how much and how strongly people connect with those stories. And through that, this impact comes of the impact goals that you have within a film, which is cool. I mean, for me as well, I think the sense of place and locality and identity is really crucial if we're going to take action on climate change. We need to be able to connect to the places that it affects. And film is a great multimedia thing. Joan, you very kindly introduced the idea of music as part of this. Most of the music in the film, although, yes, I produced it and I put it down into a production there, a lot of that is traditional music coming from Scotland. A lot of it's coming from, we were in Raasay, the tune Miss McLeod's of Raasay, drawing on a huge wealth of Shetland fiddle to come into that. So it's a lovely thing to really bring out the stories and the songs of places to put into a soundtrack so that that story of place is told much better than I could as a filmmaker tell it. So hopefully that answers your question there, Joan.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Cameron. And then for Jane, Greener Orkney, you've been part of several community initiatives. I know it's not just the community fridges that Greener Orkney do, but what do you think has been the most impactful project so far?
Well, I think the most there's two that stand out. So I mean, obviously, the starting the community fridge in 2022 was a big it was an aim of ours for years, and it was just one of those lucky coincidences where somebody offered us the space in their accommodation in Kirkwall, and then we also had they wanted a community fridge, but they wanted someone else to run it. So that allowed us to put that together with the. We also got a grant from the co-op who were keen to run one in Orkney, and we started one in Kirkwall, and then because we've got two towns on the island, very soon Stromness were wanting their own one, and so we had the Stromness one as well. So I think now we've actually saved over 89 tons of food from going into landfill. So I think that's probably the most influential one. A close second would be the project that we ran last year with Marine Scotland to highlight what was coming on our beaches, on the Northern Isles beaches. And that has actually, still given us a lot of interest into more interest in the plastic in the ocean and how do you clean beaches. But I think definitely the community fridge, and the fact that it's a lot of the people who man it, the volunteers, they're the same people who started within a few weeks of it starting. We were worried how we would get people, but once it started, people came and volunteered.
Good, really good, Jane. I think that we find that with a lot of those community fridge type projects is that they really do engage with volunteers and volunteers stay with it. I think that they feel that there's a real purpose to it, which there is. The 89 tons of food waste is really significant that has been saved there. And then for Marie, and as you know, I am such a fan of Polycrub, but Polycrub has become a model for sustainable growing in challenging climates. That's, I was we showed Thurso in the film, and I was the development manager in Thurso, and I actually knew of Polycrub before I knew that we were going to have a growing project. And I'm not quite sure which one came first. Did I want us to have a Polycrub, or did I want us to have a growing project? Because I just think it's amazing. But what makes Polycrub unique compared to conventional approaches?
So I think what makes it unique is, well, to begin with, the fact that the hoops that form the Polycrub are pipe that's reused for the aquaculture industry, not only in Shetland now, but also in the Western Isles. And so that pipe was then removed through to landfill. But I mean, the pipe is such an excellent thing to use because it doesn't rust like steel, and it's completely low energy in production, because you're not having to make new steel. You're repurposing something that already exists and gain it a new life. So that is unique, and I think the simplicity of the design is unique, and the fact that it is a simple design that can really withstand the wildest weather that you want to try and throw at it. I mean, like I said, it began as a community project in Shetland nearly 20 years ago, and we built 12 in our community. That was the whole point of it. It was never meant to be a business. So we did the community project, and all those 12 are still here in Shetland, despite what Mother Nature has chucked at it in nearly 20 years. So I think if you build them properly, they will withstand anything.
I think that they're just superb, and Polycrub are the only company who make Polycrubs. That's the bit that I'm going to say as well, very clearly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to take a couple of questions from the chat. I think actually the first two questions that we've got in the Q&A are probably more sort of geared towards what I can answer, but I think that there's a really important question that Kirsty has raised. Thank you. Hello, Kirsty, because I know that she's from the Outer Hebrides Climate Hub. And I'll just go to the kind of the bottom part of it, because I think that it's an important issue at the moment, particularly in the UK. Things are feeling very polarised politically at the moment. So Kirsty's question is, do you find that the majority of people in the Highlands and Islands are supportive of climate action, or do you have to do a lot of behind the scenes work to try and change public behaviour and opinion? So I think I'll come to Jane and Marie first of all, but just because of the projects that you're running, and what's the general feeling that you feel out there? So if I go to Jane first of all.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a very challenging question, that because I think we're looking at cultural change. I think in Orkney, a lot of the older people really felt that, the recycling was something that was probably not necessary, because I mean, obviously, Orkneys are quite unique in that we send all our waste to Shetland to get incinerated. And so, I mean, that was a big EU-funded project about 26 years ago. So what we find is we don't find as much enthusiasm from older people, actually. We tend to find that it's younger people and a lot of people who have come to Orkney. But I have to say our volunteers are a mix. They're a mix of people, of local Orcadians and people who have come to Orkney.
But we definitely see that there's still a lot of education. That's one of the things that Green Orkney has as one of its aims, is to actually educate people on the importance of recycling and not waste, and knowing what you can and cannot recycle. And also we have had a lot of discussions with the council recently as well, and how can they help us with disposal of waste from the smaller islands, which is quite a challenge economically. So yes, it's a constant battle to keep promoting the importance of it, and getting people to be more aware of it. Yeah.
Thank you, Jane. Marie?
Yeah, I think I would agree with what Jane says, but I mean, just watching in film, I just think that things like this are such a brilliant way to get the message across. I mean, it always makes me emotional watching in film, because when you look at the amazing things that are going on in communities, and so folk are volunteering and getting involved because they want something practical to do, and they might not necessarily be signed up 100% to the climate change message, but they want to help a project. They want to get involved in practical things, and of course, as islanders, we've always had to reuse and recycle, and so I think that it's how you get that message across, and like I say, when it can be done on a more kind of practical level rather than theoretical and facts and figures and all that kind of thing, then you lost folk. But if you say, right, we're going to clean this beach, or we're wanting you to volunteer at our community fridge or whatever, then it's such a brilliant way of getting folk involved, and then they realise why they're involved. And so, yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Marie. It's the bit of the film that always sticks with me. And I actually felt, I haven't watched it for a few months now, and then watching it again tonight, I was choking up again. I feel quite, I always feel quite emotional with it. Cameron did us a solid, particularly with the music, and just everything just works together. But that young lad that's from Ullapool Sea Savers, when he says that, he might not be doing his best, but at least he's doing something. I can't exactly remember his words. And I think for me, that's the main thing, is that the projects that we feature, a lot of the people that are involved in these projects, whether they're a volunteer, whether they're a member of staff, whether they're a member of that community organisation, it's maybe not climate that took them to it in the first place, but they've got some kind of a purpose and they're doing something. And so I think that we've got far more in common in terms of how we're, even people who don't are maybe climate deniers, I think, would still go out and say that they support local, that they want to see these kind of local projects happening. That I actually think that we've got far more in common than what actually divides us. Cameron, just similar sort of question in terms of that kind of climate storytelling. So I know it's not just for us that you've done that climate storytelling, but again, like how do you sort of see it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it probably connects a lot to the experience making this film of, the attitudes that people have. What I found really interesting, I mean, I live in Glasgow, which is, the biggest city in Scotland, which is quite far from the kind of cultural experience in the Highlands and Islands in many places. But when we're talking about climate solutions in the cities, we're kind of making all these like new ideas, and you can talk about big tech and all that. But what's really lovely about more kind of rural communities in Scotland is that they are, living in such a deep connection to the land. And you can see it in both Orkney and Shetland so strongly that a lot of the solutions that we need probably are embodied by the attitudes of, say, a crofter in the Highlands, or anyone that's kind of working the land in that sustainable way. You can take an island off Orkney. There was one that we were looking to go to, North Ronaldsay in the north of Orkney. We didn't quite make it this time for this film, but hopefully we'll get there one day. But everything there is just so circular. So it just really kind of doing this, it made me realize that, yeah, attitudes towards climate change, sure, they can vary across the board, but without thinking, a lot of people are embodying the solutions just because that's of the culture of the place they're from.
Perfect. Thank you, Cameron. And then I suppose this is kind of a related question, actually. And I'll go to Marie first on it. So from R. McKnight, based on your experience and the wonderful story presented, thank you. In your opinion, how can policymakers, funders, and larger institutions support community-led climate solutions without undermining local knowledge, culture, or autonomy?
Wow, that's a big question. Well, I suppose a lot of it does start with funding, and I also think about where community polytunnel project in Shetland. We were lucky enough to access funding for the Climate Challenge Fund at that time to build the 12 polytunnels, and then there was a rule within the funding that you weren't then allowed to turn that into a business. And luckily, that rule changed. And so something that started with public funding could then become something that was a social enterprise that now supports a community. And so it's how can we think differently, and how can we make projects self-sustaining and able to stand on their own 2 feet and go forward to becoming more in communities, I think is really important.
Thank you, Marie. I couldn't agree more with you. Jane?
Oh yeah, I mean there's several things. I mean it is really difficult to be sustained by funding because there's so it's quite an overhead for a charity because we're all we're completely volunteer led, and so actually putting in funding applications is quite a challenge. And so many of them are rejected just because of the numbers of people that go for the funds, compared to the amount of money that's available. One of the things I think that helps is the funders taking having some sort of local presence. I think that would help a lot. But yeah, it's a challenge. The other thing is you have to keep thinking of new ideas. So we had a slow cooker project, and we've got a refillery project. But gradually, if you want those things to continue, and we've actually worked quite hard now with encouraging people to give us more donations, because we need to cover our electricity, mainly our electricity costs, and also some for the refillery. We need to have internet, we need to have a card machine, and we need to have stock. So we're trying to run more on the donations and less on funds, but it's not easy. Definitely not easy to influence the policymakers or the funders. It's quite an overhead.
Thanks, Jane. I'll also explain a little bit more, because I didn't really explain who the hub are, and we do hint at it throughout the film, but the Highlands and Islands Climate Hub, we're actually funded by the Scottish Government to support this kind of community-led climate action activity across Highland, Orkney and Shetland. We're part of a network of 24 climate hubs across Scotland, and one of the key roles, certainly that I feel that we have, is, we're a member organisation. We've got about 400 members, including Polycrub and Greener Orkney, is that we're that voice into those policymakers and into those funders as well, and trying to encourage that funders, that government, that policy pay attention to what the local place-based solutions are, that communities, whilst they experience issues, they actually have the solutions to the issues that they're experiencing as well, and that it's really important that those voices are listened to. I'll just come to Cameron then, because I'm going to hope to try and get to one of the questions that were early on as well. And I can see, Enrique, you asking for Marie's email address. I'm sure that we can arrange to get details of Polycrub passed on to you. But I'm just going to ask Cameron quickly how many days it took to complete the film. I think that it's worth covering how much travel you did for this film and how you did it. I'm not going to ask a question about the budget, because if you can remember, I certainly can't remember. So there we go. And plans to make more films, we would love to.
Yeah, very quickly. Yeah, days. It was a summer's bit of work, several different trips. The good thing about the Highlands and Islands is it's very connectable by public transport. I think we worked out that the whole logistics involved was at 500 miles of public transport journeys to get from everywhere from, Ullaberry in the very north of the mainland of Shetland down to kind of Raasay, an island off Skye. So if you're thinking about coming to Scotland, the public transport system is there to support your journey, and it can be done sustainably. But definitely plans to make more, and yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Cameron. And then the first question that we were asked by was from William, which was what inspired you to take action and document the Highlands and Islands community efforts to share with the world. And I suppose it's certainly Marie and Jane agreed to be in this film with us. Cameron agreed to make the film for us. But to just answer that very briefly as to what inspired us as an organisation to make this film was that we wanted to tell the story of people. The Highlands, Orkney and Shetland, I think when many people think of us, even within our own country, they think of those broad sweeping landscapes, they think of the rural idyll, but underneath all of that, and I mean, we have beautiful places that we live. However, there are people and there are communities and there are people who live and work in these areas and who are part of really vibrant and active communities. And we really wanted to tell the story of the people that live here. Taking that, the concept of social capital, you can live in the most beautiful place in the world, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have people to make something happen, nothing is going to happen. So we wanted to tell the story of people. And I could quickly come to Cameron and just ask him very quickly what inspires him about the film, and we'll do a little round robin like that. So what inspires you about the film, Cameron? Obviously you made it. So
yeah, I think watching it back, I think it actually comes from events like this, Jane and Marie, hearing your kind of takes on it and hearing how there's those stories that came through the film are still relevant, that all showcase the value and the innovation taking place in the Highlands and the Northern Isles. It's just really exciting, and that inspiration is definitely as strong today, if not stronger than it was when we were in the field making it.
Thank you. Jane, what inspires you about the film?
Well, I think I thought it was just an amazing collection of different stories. And yeah, I mean, somebody mentioned it earlier today. It's about new ideas and keeping people enthused and going forward. And it's a great way of doing that.
Marie?
Yeah, that's the same for me. I mean, what amazed me was the variety of what was going on within the Highlands and Islands, and I think it's just great that stories were told, and it also gives new ideas to other communities. Like I saw things in that film that I thought, yeah, you would work in Shetland, we need to look into and we need to try and yeah, so everybody I think is inspiring everybody else.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I think that's us at time now. I can see Michaela coming back. So yeah, thank you all for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the film. Thank you.
Thank
you so much. And of course, a huge thank you to our absolutely fantastic panel. Cameron, Jane, Marie, this was very, very engaging, very insightful. And I'm sure the audience is expressing similar sentiments. And of course, thank you so much to our audience for joining as well. Before you go, please allow me to make a quick announcement. During our opening session on Monday, Island Innovation would have announced that we are partnering with the Cabildo of Gran Canaria to host the Global Sustainable Island Summit 2026. After this year's experience in St. Kitts and Nevis, now the Macaronesian region and Europe will take the spotlight. This summit will be held from April 20th to the 23rd, 2026, and we will be discussing solutions and advancements in sustainability as it relates to islands. I think very, very relevant to what we would have discussed today as well. Please note that all attendees of this virtual summit can get an additional discount on those early bird tickets, so you can use the coupon code that's being shared with you now in the chat. This has been our final session for today, but the summit resumes tomorrow with discussions on how subnational island jurisdictions advancing climate action, clean energy and innovation, as well as community-led transitions and digital and AI and so much more. Thank you all once again for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.